I'm gonna sneak up on him. Ha-ta-ta-ta! That's right, you run away. Yes. Hey guys, it's Red Nomster, and today I'm in Vanilla Realism. And for those of you who don't know, Vanilla Realism is an adventure map that I'm making. Basically an apocalyptic scenario where you have to kind of survive off the land, like DayZ or the War Z, or whatever you want to say. Oh, there's another chicken down there. Yes, you deserve it. Is that a barrier block? I thought I saw one. Anyways, but basically, Vanilla Realism is also going to be available as a schematic, basically the redstone-wise of it, where you can use MCEdit and paste the redstone into any one of your single-player survival worlds, and it will add all the realism that is in this into yours without the map. So you can build your own survival-type scenario. It's kind of like mods in vanilla Minecraft, which is pretty cool. So the first thing I got is thirst. So if we go to game mode 0, to make it work, we just drink this. We have alcohol, energy drink, and normal water. We'll drink the normal water first. As you see in thirst, it goes from 50 to 550. So it adds 500 and also has a little message that says, I replenish my thirst. Now, you can also refill the water bottle, but instead, I'm going to put alcohol over here. Drink the alcohol. Pretty snazzy. Goes from 500 to 800, so basically it says I have a funny taste in my mouth, and it makes you drunk like this. Pretty snazzy. But it adds 300 instead of 500, so it still adds thirst. It still gives you thirst, basically. It still replenishes your thirst is what I should say, but not as much as actual water. And also we have an energy drink which adds more than normal water to your thirst, but apparently, okay, can I drink it now? Okay, that was weird. Adds more, but it also says I feel energized. I replenish my thirst, and it gives you absorption, which is just a little snazzy thing, kind of an alternative to using normal potions. But you can brew these as well. It just replaces the strength potion and the water breathing potion right now, but that is subject to change. Leave a comment if you want me to change or replace different potions that you probably use less. I don't know. Some people like using water breathing potions for water temples and stuff like that. But the cool thing about water bottles is that you can also just come up to any water source like this gutter here and refill it like that, and ta-da. Now it does have to be in your last slot, but that's really the only thing that's like that in this. Another thing is the cold effect. So if I just sit here, it will say my body is wet, and that's because I'm standing in the rain. That was the coolest transition I've ever had accidentally, so I'm gonna brag about it. Now, right now, it just keeps saying my body is wet, but if we go over here and set cold as the sidebar, you'll see it's at 45 right now, but the longer we stand in the rain, it'll go up by 5, and by 5, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So, yeah. But the cool thing is, let's say we want to get out of the rain. Let's go ahead and get in this little car right here. If we get in this little car, it'll still say, it says I'm freezing because I'm so cold. Oh no. Oh no, it's still going up. Here, let's get into something bigger like this. Yes, beautiful. So it says my body is wet. That's just because my body's wet, right? But the cold stops going up, and it will stop saying my body is wet, considering I'm not being rained on anymore. And that's just kind of how that works. Now, it's very, very awesome. I don't think this has ever been done before to this extent. Now, there's still rain detectors, even survival-friendly rain detectors that use bud switches and fire, but never relative to the player, nor relative to if the player is actually standing in the rain or if it's just rainy and the player is alive. I don't know if that makes any sense, but it only makes the player cold if he is under raindrops. So I'm not under raindrops. I walk out here, stand in the rain for a few seconds, and it'll recognize it. The cold meter will begin going up, and it'll also say that I am wet. Boom. Beautiful. Now, there are other things that add to... I'll just go find some. There are other things that add to the cold meter. I'm gonna clear the weather real quick, just so I don't die of hypothermia trying to show you guys this stuff. And I have hypothermia. Fantastic. As you can see there, hypothermia gives you the hunger effect, and it's quite dangerous actually. So to cure this, we're just gonna go ahead and create a fire kit, and then throw some coal on it, and then stand next to the fire. And as you can see, the cold meter starts going down because we're next to the fire. I'm dying of hunger. Might as well cook some food, I guess. You can throw all types of food on there, and it doesn't matter. I fixed the fact that you can only put one on at a time. They all cook just about the same speed, but they're all separate from each other, so it should cook this one, then that one, then that one. Might see it here. Hopefully it cooks sooner or later, rather than later. Yes. Cook my food. There we go. Cook all of them. One more. Beautiful. Okay, let's eat this food. Alright, and real quick, I just kind of want to show off a little bit more about the fire pit for those of you who haven't seen my other video called Fire Pits in Vanilla Minecraft. Basically, with the fire pit, not only does it cook food, it also provides warmth like that, but it does create light as well. And you can also break the fire pit like this, and the light and stuff like that goes away. So, and also says I disassemble my fire. So, pretty snazzy. I like it. Alright, let's go over a couple more features. There is... Let me see. Game mode 0. 0? 0. I am injured. This is the heartbeat effect. Basically, if you're under 2.5 hearts or a heart and a half or so, yeah, 2.5 hearts, it'll say I am injured, and it'll give you the slowness effects, and it will also play the heartbeat sound, basically. But once you get to 3 hearts, it'll get rid of both of those, and you'll be just fine, like now. So yeah. Alright, the next system is overeating, which is an old feature as well, but basically, once you have completely full hunger, like as you can see now, I have about 8.5 hunger, yeah? If I eat this steak, it'll completely fill me up. It'll say I have had too much to eat, which isn't a threatening thing, but it does give me slowness too, so it's harder to run away from mobs, which is kind of bad, sometimes I guess. But yeah, once you get down to 9 hunger, it'll get rid of that, and that's kind of a controversial thing. Some people may like that, some people probably won't, which is no big deal, because something I also forgot to mention is that you will be able to, I'll separate the modules, so you can MC edit the entire thing in, and then I'll label them, and you can remove which ones you don't want involved. Some are kind of packaged together, like cold and testing for rain, they're kind of packaged together, but stuff like overeating, it's just random little modules that don't really connect to anything else but them. So yeah, and I guess let's move on to another one. Alright, now there's a few more features that I really like. The first one being realistic zombie tracking. Now as you can see, this zombie, I'm pretty damn close to him, but he's not following me, and that's because his tracking range is only 7 blocks right now. But if I get within 7 blocks, it'll say I've alerted a zombie and he'll start chasing me. Now if I run away for about 30 blocks, he should stop chasing me, supposedly. Did he stop chasing me? I don't know, I can't even see him. Hello. Alright, now another thing is, it'll also alert any zombie within a 30 block radius, and for some reason it's saying I'm wet. Oh, yep, that's because the redstone was not in the spawn chunk, and I unloaded it. Fantastic. Alright, let's go ahead and run away from these zombies. Let's just run way down here real quick. Hopefully there's no more zombies down here. I think we're good. I think we should be fine now. There's just creepers to worry about. Juke around them. Alright. Zombie? Yes. Now as you can see, the zombies stopped following me, and I can get within 7 blocks again, which means I can sneak around them once again, because I have lost them. I have eluded them. Skeleton! Don't you just love it when you run out of disk space when you're recording? It's beautiful. Alright, I fixed that. Sorry for a bit of lag, probably in the last like 20 seconds. That was just my fault, but the audio should be fine still, so I'm gonna keep it. Okay, now there's a couple more things, actually. Pretty much all the systems are done, but there's a couple more things to add on this system. First of all, cold, as you can see, it's at 80, but if I stand on top of some snow, it starts slowly going up, and if I get off, it'll stop, basically. Now, another one is somewhere around here. I'll just run over here real quick. Those gold blocks. That was something I can mention too, I guess. I MC-added this entire map into a normal, just chill survival world that I just created on my own. I just created a map and then MC-added this entire thing in. So this adventure map, when it's done, will not just be cut off borders or just empty ocean for the rest of the world. It's going to be actual land that you can go and survive on as well. So you can have this entire city to play in, or you can just go and live on your own. I don't know. Anyways, so right here, water also does the same thing, similar to snow. But as you can see, if you're stepping on snow and in water, which is impossible because if water's on top of snow, it will then break it. But yeah. Either one, it will only go up by 1, which isn't too bad. Now the systems I do think I'm going to change just because even by testing it in this video, I do get hypothermic very fast and I do warm up very fast. So I think either I'm going to increase it or slow down the clocks. Probably just going to increase the scoreboard because hopper clocks are really easy to make and I'm lazy, so that's that. Now, I think that's just about it. Was there a game mode one? Here we go. Now I'm going to fly up here real quick and take a look at all the redstone. Some of it's kind of old news, but I'm going to go over it for the people that haven't seen any of this at all. Wow, this is a long ways up here. Whee! Alright. Now, I'm going to go over the basic stuff, then go over the things like the weather that is kind of new to everyone, probably. So, yeah. So, let's start off with the fire pit video. Fire pit project, anyways. I already made a video about this called Realistic Fire Pits in Vanilla Minecraft, and I'll link that in the description, so if you want to learn a little bit more about this, go check out that video. But I did update it a little bit. Basically, just added scoreboards and also the messages that have the tell raw commands that say, I create a fire pit in green colors and stuff like that. Check and see if I'm actually recording or not. Cool. I am. Okay, so these are all scoreboards. There's a scoreboard for each food. So there's a chicken dummy, and fish dummy, and so on and so forth for all the foods that you can bake. I don't think I put in baked potato just because, I don't know, I really just didn't want to put on another scoreboard. I was up at like 4 a.m. doing this, but I might do baked potatoes as well. So for those of you who don't know, basically it's testing, it's executing at Fire Skull, which is basically a fire pit. It's testing at the fire, and it's testing for an entity in the radius of 3 beef. So if there's beef, this right here will give that beef a score of 1, and then it will then test if there's beef, right? And this comparator output will activate this dispenser right here, and that dispenser will shoot out an item, land in this web for about 10 to 15 seconds, land on this pressure plate, a little Ruby Goldberg machine, and this command block down here kills the item right as it lands on it, but in that time, that pressure plate also activates this entity data command, and that entity data executes at any beef with a score of 1, so any beef that's in 1 radius of the fire, or 3 radius, whatever, and turns it to cooked beef. So basically, if you throw beef on the fire, or any type of food that's cookable, it will give it a score, and after about 10 to 15, or about 10 seconds or so, it'll then turn it to the cooked version, but only the food in the world that has that score. So if you throw food way over there, and then throw some food on top of the fire, it's not going to cook the food over there. It's pretty simple stuff, but I like it. Anyways, that's all I'm really going to explain about the fire one. There is actually a little bit over here that's very small. That's not it, that's thirst. This right here. There's a hopper clock going, and I'm going to explain all these furnaces in a little bit. You may be wondering about that, but it's just a simple hopper clock that's going into a execute at P test for Fire Skull and Raise 10. Basically, it's testing if I'm within 10 blocks of the fire, like the fire pit, yes. And whoops, don't want to keep those there. It then says I'm warming up, and then as long as I'm within 10 blocks, this torch will stay off, which means this hopper clock will start going, which means it will then keep removing 2 cold every time this hopper clock goes off, which is a little bit over once a second. So it'll happen a little bit more than once a second, yeah, but not 2. So yeah, that's that. But yeah, that's pretty much it. The cold command, the cold scoreboard is used in quite a few places, including the fire command, or the fire module right here. Biggest module right here. This is it. It's actually this. It kind of goes around. I don't know. It's kind of hard to see. It's not going to be laid out like this when I give you guys the option to remove some or add different places. But yeah, so there's that. Now there's also right here. And this is not to do with the fire module anymore. This is to do with hypothermia. So this is the hopper clock goes in 2 different directions. First, it goes into these 2 command blocks right here. It tests at the player and tests for blocks snow, and it also tests for water. So if the player's in water, or if he's standing on snow, it'll then start this hopper clock, which goes in this command, which then adds cold every time this adds 1 to cold every time this hopper clock goes up. And this right here sets if it basically restricts it so that cold can only go to 200. It sets any player with over 200 within that margin and sets it back to 200. So you can only get as cold as 200, so you're not going to get like 3 million and stay hypothermic for the rest of your life. And the same thing for the below margin, so it's negative 50 and 2. It means you can't go below 2, so you can't be super warm. But I am going to also add in heat stroke, which has nothing to do with the cold system. I won't be using this just because there's so many things with it already. I didn't want to confuse myself. I'm just going to be adding in a whole new system called heat stroke instead of cold, or maybe just heat, I don't know. Anyways, alright, and then over here is the system that does stuff with the scores. So it's testing for a player with 200 and, well, 100, but, okay, within 100 and 200. Once he reaches 100 cold, so I'm at 80 or 9 right now, let's go ahead and find some snow. I think there's some over here. Yeah, here we go. That's convenient. It'll then go up, but once it gets to 100, it will, 5, 4, 3. Oh, wow, this took longer than I thought it would. It'll then say, I'm freezing in yellow letters, which isn't a danger, but basically it's saying you should probably do something about that before it becomes a danger. So it just says, I'm freezing in yellow letters, and yellow letters in this entire module collection represents warnings, not danger. So that's that. But then it will also execute at anybody with about 200 score, 195 to 200. It will give them hunger, and I forgot to invert it so that the hunger disappears, but basically if you're hypothermic, it'll give you the hunger effect, really bad hunger effect, so your hunger goes down quick. Like, it's hard to live. You have to be next to fire quick. And it also gives you mining fatigue, which I thought was better than the slowness effect, considering I've already used the slowness effect in quite a few places, so I didn't want to like cross-talk with other clear slowness effect commands. But the mining fatigue also kind of correlates with, like, when you get cold, your hands get slower, and it's just harder to do stuff. You're still able to do it. You don't walk slower necessarily, you just work slower, so I thought mining fatigue was a good place for that. There's also, I have hypothermia when that happens. So once you get full cold, it gives hypothermia in red letters, which means you're probably going to die if you don't do anything about this right now. Alright, and then up here we have the thirst module, which is pretty awesome, I think. It's an old module, but it works pretty well. There is ways to go around this, which there's ways to go around just about every single one of these modules. But the rule of thumb here is, if you're gonna cheat, I don't understand why you download the schematic. Now, there's always the argument, what if I accidentally do something and it cheats for me? Well, there's not too big of a deal. Like, if you accidentally find a way to drink, get the water effect, it's like, oh, I mean, that amount of water from drinking one water bottle goes away in about 5 minutes. So, it's not too big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. It's not, it doesn't make you a cheater. It just, it happens sometimes. So, we'll see how it goes. I'll test it a little bit. But basically there's a hopper clock going right here, and it's testing 2 slots right now. It's testing two commands, and it's testing if the player has a glass bottle in his last slot and his last slot only, and it's also testing if the player has a potion, which is a filled up one, which I have right now. So if I pull this out right now, boop, you see that redstone goes, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't, if I drop it and I pick it up, it's the same as it not being in my hand, but it has to be in my last slot. So if I select it right now, see the redstone's not going off, last slot, boop, beautiful. Now if I go into game mode 0, I'll show you a little bit of how it works. Basically there's a logic gate right here that I don't remember the name of. Basically it's a latch that only activates once, like right here, this redstone is activating it, so this torch is always off. But once this torch goes off, meaning this redstone goes on, it will then deactivate this torch, allowing this redstone to turn off, and then turn this torch on. So this redstone will stay on until I fill up the water bottle again. So if I drink this water bottle, if I come over here, I drink this water bottle, you can see that the redstone just flips, and it says, comes down here, and it says somewhere, okay, I'm going to go to game 1, 0 real quick, or 1, because my guy is terrible with potions. Alright, here we go. It says, tell raw, I replenish my thirst in green colors, and green is good, by the way, yeah. And then it also does scoreboard, and basically there's a thirst scoreboard, and thirst it adds 500 for drinking any potion. Now, I went around that a little bit with alcohol, which only adds 300, but the way it does that is adds 500, but then once it tests alcohol, it removes 200 instead of adding 300. It works pretty well. So yeah, but yeah, it adds 500 to thirst, and then down here, scoreboard players remove thirst 1. Basically, this constantly removes 1 thirst on a hopper clock. So your thirst constantly goes down no matter what. It's just how it works, you know, you get thirsty. Anyways, now this hopper clock also goes in this direction. Before I go on a little bit further, I want to show that if you pick up more water, it then flip-flops it back. So it's a never-ending cycle. Now the way to cheat is to have an empty glass bottle and a full bottle. So you have 2 separate bottles, which basically what the system does is it detects weather clear, come on, weather clear. What the system does, my body's wet, great. What this system does right here is it detects if a water bottle turns into a glass bottle, basically, and it does that using test inventory. Now I did that instead of the stat command just because I did other things with potions and stuff like that. I see it might not be necessary, I don't know, but it works pretty well, I think. But there is a way around it, which is basically, I don't know. You can if, here, I might be able to show you actually. Get glass, see, I'm not drinking this water, but if I flip-flop it, the redstone will go. And the way to solve that is to just not do that, I guess. You can carry multiple ones as you want, but just don't put a full water bottle where there was glass, or empty water bottle where there was a full water bottle previously, because then it will think that you drink it. So that's that. But it works pretty well, I think. It doesn't really happen too often. I don't think it would anyways. This hopper clock also goes into two other commands, which goes into a... basically, what it says is clearing the, I think, absorption. No, this is clearing water breathing and clearing the strength effect. Now, it's clearing these because if it clears it, that means I had it and it was able to clear it successfully, which then I can get the comparator output from. So basically, it's testing for a player with water breathing, and if it is testing for a player with water breathing, go into these commands, and water breathing is, let me see. Water breathing is energy drinks. So it adds 200 plus the 500 there, so it adds 700 in total. And then it's also, I feel energized is what it says. And then it gives you the effect of absorption. And then it's takes away 15 cold, which means it heats you up a little bit, which isn't really realistic. I don't know if that happens at all. I don't think so. But I just put it in there to combat alcohol, which takes away, or adds 20 cold, which means it speeds up cold by 20 points, because alcohol colds your blood, freezes your blood, makes it colder. I don't know how to explain it. Gives you the nausea effect, and it says I have a funny taste in my mouth, and it removes 200 points, which means drinking anything gives you 500. That removes it 300. Yeah, that's it. This right here is the heartbeat module. There we go. It's the heartbeat module, which basically is a comparator output going into a scoreboard that's testing health. And if I get within 2.5 hearts, or 2.5 hearts or under, it'll say I am injured in red color, which means it's dangerous. Yeah, and I'll start this hopper clock, which then goes into two different play sound commands with different pitches that sound like heartbeat sound, I guess. I don't know, but it basically goes over here and then over here with the hopper clock. You could speed it up and slow it down with this repeater, but I think it sounds like heartbeat right now, so that's where I left it. This is also a slowness effect that gives you when you are injured. So yeah, let's go over here. I think that's all the modules except for rain. Okay, this is a big one. This is the one that I haven't seen anywhere else. I mean, I've seen thirst been attempted. I've seen fire been attempted and never. I mean, it's all different stuff, right? It's all, you don't see it too often. I don't think I've seen it very many places anywhere of this. But rain, I don't think it's ever been tested before in this way. So I think it's pretty cool. So basically what I have here is a very, very barbaric clock. What it is a bunch of repeaters timed up, just because it's very delicate how it's timed, just due to how I'm testing it. Now, weather has been tested before. Even in survival, it's used bud switches. I think I've mentioned that earlier in the video, maybe not. Basically, if it's raining, it will then put out fire faster than if it's not raining. I think if it's not raining, fire goes out within 7 to 13 seconds, but if it is raining, it goes out in about under 5 seconds every time. So what I have here is a little 5-second clock that's basically this goes along and kills the item that's setting on that pressure plate to start the clock, and this summons item. So it has 12 ticks in between the 5-second clock, which is kind of delicate, but I think I might be able to find a better way to make this. But other than that, it's kind of simple. It's just kind of hard to understand because you have to kind of picture this imaginary, because it's impossible to show because this stuff is invisible. Anyways, so the item lands on this pressure plate, and what it does is it activates these 3 commands. First, it's executing at rain test and filling that. Yes, I'll explain this in a second. It's also killing placeholder, which I'll explain in a second, and it's killing pH detect. Now these are 2 entities. No, it's 3 entities. First of all, the way I'm doing this is I'm constantly summoning a barrier block, or set blocking a barrier block way above the player. Now, fire is invisible from under the player, like this. See it? But from the sides it's visible, so it's not too bad, especially if it's rainy weather. You can't see this. Or I'm on 9 render distance, I just can't see it. But yeah, basically I'm setting fire on top of a barrier block, which is necessary because fire will disappear if there's no block beneath it, and it's invisible, so it works pretty well. But relative to the player, every 5 seconds I'm setting a new fire block. For simplicity, I'm just going to say I'm setting new fire right there, and within that fire I'm summoning a armor stand named Rain Test. And what that armor stand is doing is once the fire is there, it then summons inside that fire and then tests for air. And then before that fire is moved, it is killed. So the only time it'll ever test for air is if this fire is put out within the 5-second clock, which means if that fire is rained on, it will be put out, and that armor stand will test if there's rain. And that's how I'm testing if it's raining relative to the player. Now, the way I'm testing if I'm under an object to test if I'm actually being hit by rain rather than just if it's raining in the world and I'm alive is pretty cool too. What I did is I can come down here. Beautiful. That was a beautiful sound, right? Anyways, what I'm doing is I'm executing at rain test, and I'm testing for block air, like I said. And then what that does is it then executes at placeholder, which placeholder is where I was when I set that. Am I falling? Okay. It's where I was when I set that fire relative to my player. It summons an armor stand at where my player was. Yeah. So basically, it's my ghost player going back in time, testing where that fire was. Yeah. Anyways. So it's placeholder where my body was, and then it's executing at placeholder, and then summoning an armor stand 40 blocks above my player, which I could change to summoning relative to way up there, but considering it's a 5-second clock, the armor stand does not have enough time to fall. So I summoned it 40 blocks above, meaning if there's nothing above my head for 40 blocks, that probably means I'm outside, right? That probably means that rain can get to where I'm at. Now, I assume that if you're in a cavern and it's raining, it'll test this if there's 40 blocks above it. But this can be changed to something above 40. I'm thinking probably about 80. It'd be fine still, which there's not really any natural things in the world naturally generated that there's not 40 blocks above your head and you're still underground. So anyways, but basically it's summoning an armor stand named PH Detect, which is just an invisible armor stand that's invulnerable with a -20 motion, which means it falls pretty quick. It falls about as quick as it can relative to my player. So it takes about a second to get from where it summons to the placeholder. And if it does get to the placeholder, meaning there's nothing in between where it's summoned, 40 blocks above the placeholder, and the placeholder, if there's nothing in between it, it will then go down here, and it will then test for, it will execute at placeholder, and it will test for the speedy armor stand that falls very fast relative to the player. That's testing basically if there's anything in between these two things, and it's testing for radius of 0, and that basically means the armor stand could fall all the way and not land on anything. It'll land where I was standing, say if I was standing right here, and the armor stand was right here, so they're both right on top of each other, testing for a radius of 0, and if that's true, it will then, if I can fly up here any quicker, so if the placeholder armor stand where my player was and the armor stand that has the motion of a -y gets to that armor stand without hitting anything, it'll then test that it's in the radius of 0 because they're touching. And then if so, it'll then say, come on, my body is wet and it's yellow. It's not it's just a warning basically, but then it starts this hopper clock because as long as I'm in the rain, this hopper clock will keep going. We'll show it right here, actually, I guess, considering it's raining now. No? Possibly? Give me something to work with here. There we go. See, it goes off, but only for enough time for this item to go in twice, which this right here only adds 5, but it does it twice, so it's 10. So it basically adds 10 cold every time it tests that, and it's on a 5-second clock, so you can get cold pretty quick, which is why I think I might make the cold meter a little bit bigger, just because you can get hypothermic pretty quick. But you can actually see the falling animation of the armor stand. You can see the particles if we just wait here long enough. Wait for it. Boom. There it is. Now, it kind of sucks because it does make a sound, and the sound is friendly creatures. So I don't know why it's that. But if armor stand falls, it does make a sound, and the only way to turn that off is to get rid of the armor stand sound, or maybe use something else that doesn't have a sound. I don't know. But yeah, what I have here is an armor stand that falls, but that just means you can't hear sheep and pigs and stuff like that, which isn't too big of a sacrifice for testing if you're in raindrops, so I think that's pretty cool. But that's the only downfall really about it at this moment that I can think of, really. I don't know. I think it's really cool, though. I think it works very well, considering it's such a crude-looking system with just a bunch of repeaters tied to each other. But it works very well, and I think all these systems work enough. I think they're sufficient to what I want anyways. But I might add or change how they work just a little bit while I'm making more, per se, like adding heat stroke and stuff like that in the desert and on beaches and stuff like that, or in the jungle possibly. But yeah, so that's really all the systems I got. I'll go ahead and clear weather probably. It reminds me of DayZ, just all these messages. Anyways, there are a few buildings that I want to show off just because there's a lot of cool stuff. Woo! I went out of my way to get some, excuse me, buildings and structures from Planet Minecraft and also Reddit, asking for permission, of course, and crediting them in the map when it's done. But, you know, just getting buildings randomly from people, it's very helpful, like this. If you do want to submit, there's a video called Submit Your Builds, and I think Vanilla Realism is also in the title. I'll link it in the description, and there's an email address in that description that you can then submit your world download or schematic if you want your little house or something like that to be in this map. But there's some pretty nice houses. A lot of them are made of wool, and I don't understand that. Like, all of these colors are available in clay colors. Like, this is made of wool, that's made of wool, but it's a very beautiful house. I love this house right here. Oh my gosh. It's such a well done house. Look at this. It's beautiful, right? I mean, they're all good. I like them all. I like this garage door. Woo. I like how spacious other people's houses are. This house is actually really cool. It has a little little thing right there with rafters, but I love the garage, just the rafters in here. Look at this. Oh, it's beautiful. Not so sure about the glowstone up there, but I love it. It's very beautiful. Now, another issue actually with the armor stand, like the weather thing, is that every once in a while the invisible armor stand lands on you, and you can't click due to the fact that there's an armor stand where you were standing. I don't know if that's going to be a problem. It shouldn't be a problem. I think I'll make them small and I'll make it a little bit better, but I don't know. Hopefully there's a way around that somehow. I can't really just do no AI because then I can't give them gravity, because you have to have AI to have gravity, so I don't know. We'll see what happens. But yeah, there's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of nice buildings. I've also added a lot of overgrowth. It's very beta version right now. It's just leaves basically in random spots. But I'm trying to get that Last of Us type fill where there's just leaves hanging around the buildings right now. There's some trees on top of buildings. Over here, there's a really beautiful tree, and I like it. It's very nice. Where's it at? Let's go ahead and just load up the map a little bit. There we go. Hello, redstone. There's just nice looking trees, right? I'm liking it. Nice custom trees. There's also, I really like the grocery area too. If I can fly over here any faster. This reminded me of Sims, just making this, because the roads going around this little place right here. Ah, it's beautiful. I love the new multi-threading too, with loading chunks basically. It's very quick. Anyways, as you can see, this is where the hard MC edit line was, where I inserted it in the map. But I'm going to be going around the map, obviously, and getting rid of the whole unnatural look of it just being cut off. So, yeah, this will be grass and stuff, and there'll be more houses going along here. This is pretty much all the more I have to build with houses, I think. That's a pretty cool house, too, actually. I like it. Very nice looking. And he used clay. Look at that. Wait. No, he didn't. I hate him. Stupid house. No, I'm just kidding. It's beautiful. I like it. This tree right here I think is pretty cool. Just these trees in general. I think it makes it have a lot more overgrown look, where it's just this tree's just kind of growing out of the pavement. It's very big. I'm gonna be adding a lot more trees and stuff like this in the meantime. But yeah, I'm really loving the way this map is looking. I love the mechanics. It's working pretty well. Is that floating grass? Might as well get rid of that while I see it. But yeah, so tell me what you guys think of all these mechanics, I guess. I'm not going to be giving a download right now just because all of it's very unstable, pretty much. I basically just made this stuff and wanted to show it off, so it has yet to be incorporated permanently, so yeah. But I really do love the features that I'm adding. Go ahead and suggest some ideas too if you want me to add some more realistic features that don't involve the ones I've already mentioned. Go ahead. I might attempt them, might not, who knows. It depends if they interest me or interest the people that are watching me and stuff like that, or want to play, so yeah. But yeah, so that's it. So thanks for watching, guys. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next video.